Welcome back to the War Dolls podcast. This is Steph.
And this is Cammie.
And we're back with another exciting episode where we put the spotlight on the wonderful women in our community.
Today we're doing something a little different. We have Erin with us today, who has been a war doll for about a year and a half now. We thought we would spend some time highlighting our fellow war dolls, and we're just gonna kind of make this a regular thing with all of our ladies.
Erin, welcome to the War Dolls podcast.
Hello. Thank you for having me. It's so weird to talk to you girls on not a Thursday.
I know, it's so weird being on a Sunday night, and not to date stamp this, but Erin, you were talking about, I believe, in Discord when we were chatting last about how you work with Endless and Wintermoon streaming platforms. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
Yeah, so Endless, or David, is the guy that's behind the madness that is Wintermoon Wargaming, is what he's calling it. He used to do Yavin-based streaming, and he was the main streamer for all of the Legion events. So if it was a big Legion event, he was there. So I don't remember how we got hooked up, but I have a background in graphics and marketing. So I probably just went to him and said, hey, do you need help? And I hopped on and we chatted, and he discussed, I would love to redo the overlay. So we went back and forth and redesigned that, so that way we can kind of give the viewers an overview of the game. They didn't have to keep asking who's playing, what's the score, and we kind of went back and forth on that. We are both located in Florida, so we game together quite often. So I'm kind of his graphic marketing go-to, because he's the guy with all the ideas, and I'm the doer part of the team, hopefully, is how he sees me. So
That's awesome. So what's his podcast called again? Is it Endless or is it Wintermoon?
The channel is Wintermoon Wargaming.
Okay.
And he's big into podcasts, Substack, I believe, and of course his stream on YouTube.
Okay. So now, Cammie, do you want to talk about how the War Dolls podcast kind of got started and how you came up with the idea for it?
Absolutely. I listen to a fair few podcasts, a couple of Legion podcasts, and one particular Dice Girls podcast. There was a bit of an unevenness between the number of boys and the number of girls doing podcasts, so I decided that I wanted to do a War Dolls podcast, where we go out and we find the girls and we celebrate them and just kind of show them off, put a spotlight on them, because there's just really not enough of that. There were a couple of false starts, and then you came along, Steph, and you just wouldn't take my laziness for an answer. So here we are.
That's true. That's true. You gave me the idea and I just kind of ran with it.
Yeah, before I knew it, we were doing episode 1, and I was like, "What is happening?" You just the ADHD is strong with this one, but you keep me on track, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And we're gonna keep doing this as long as we can. So
Yeah.
there's plenty of girls out there, and we're gonna find them all.
Yep. Yep. I remember the night that you told me that you've always wanted to do a podcast, and I was like, that would be a lot of fun. And we just texted back and forth for like an hour, and I'm like, all right, we're going to get this figured out. Like, we're going to do this.
Yeah, I turned around and you had put out like coming soon War Dolls podcast, and I was like, well, I guess there's no turning back now. We have to follow through. So here we are. Thank you for that. I think.
Well, here we are, recording episode 7. So, I mean, there's that.
Yeah, it's great. Thank you.
So, Erin, are you involved in any other podcasts, or is it strictly Wintermoon?
Really only Wintermoon. I'm a big fan of podcasts, and of course, once Cammie mentioned and Steph made Cammie do this podcast, and I got even more excited because, like you said, there's no other it's hard to explain as a woman what you're looking for in a podcast. And it's funny because yeah, there's a million out there, and yeah, they're good, but there's not a lot of gaming ones, like Cami was saying. Like, we're not highlighting the women in gaming, and we care about things that the other half doesn't. I can't even say other
Mm-hmm.
half. The other chunks do, because like, I don't want to hear how to win. I don't want to hear the best list. As much as I enjoy that, that's great, but I want to hear what makes Zambi tick. I want to hear Anne's adventure when it comes to working in the industry, the stuff that kind of women like to hear more about, kind of that not quite spilling the tea, but there might be some spilled tea in there kind of podcast. So it's kind of unique that what you guys are bringing to the table, because it hits on so many notes that I didn't even know I was looking for. So I really appreciate all the effort you put into this podcast.
We appreciate all of you for being war dolls and supporting one another.
That's so great, because I kind of have a similar view when I listen to a podcast. If it's specifically if it's about gaming, I don't want to hear what the most meta list is, or how to put different lists together and get all technical, because I'm not a hyper competitive player. Like, me and my husband go for best theme when we try to come up with our squad. Like, we're not looking at the how they work together. I mean, we want to make a competitive list that's, not going to completely suck, but um it's mostly theme that we try to go for, so we try to have fun with it. But yeah, I'm always looking for podcasts that are more relatable and, you know, make me feel like I'm part of the community too.
Exactly. So if you want the try hard list, listen to Wintermoon Wargaming, because David sees the game in a way that I never will. I wish I did, but I'm stuck between not wanting to put the work in, but I hate losing. So I'm kind of stuck in that
Mm-hmm.
in between person. So it's great to listen to David go on and on about the percentage of dice, and if you do this and this example, and you should do this and that. And then sometimes I just want to hear Candy Cammy chatting about how she got involved, and she's run, I don't know what, 500 game stores now, and that kind of stuff. That's just kind of what keeps me coming back to gaming.
So, Erin, is this the first podcast you've ever been on?
Is it that obvious? Yes, yes, it was definitely the first one.
No, it's definitely
Well,
not obvious.
I didn't know if maybe, Wintermoon had you on at some point, telling you what they do for them, or
No, I'm that behind the scenes person. That's how I
okay.
kind of end up working different events. Is I love knowing what goes on behind the scenes at the things I go to. Like, I've worked behind the scenes at concerts. I've worked behind the scenes as a photographer. Recently, I worked behind the scenes working the Legion event. I love being behind the scenes, no credit needed, making the machine run more so than being in a spotlight. So
Gotcha.
I like to hide.
There's no shame in that.
No, not at all.
We need those behind the scenes workers.
We really do. So you and your husband both paint, and how does that work with you? I mean, he has made little guest appearances, so to speak, on our hobby hang. How did all that get started, and how does that work for y'all?
Um, I honestly, I think we prey on the people that are too lazy to paint. And my husband kind of stepped in and said, "Let me paint, let me do good things." And then he got so busy that I went, "It can't be that hard, right?" And then I struggled for months and months and watched all the different streamers, and finally got decent enough that we started painting for everybody. And now we just paint for anybody that's either too lazy, or we've got people that just love our work and we paint for them. We have an Etsy store where we sell painted. It's just time to spend together, and also, I don't know, continue the pew pew after the gaming stops. We're constantly surrounded by gaming, which is pretty awesome, and we love doing it together. And it kind of took off, which is kind of fun.
That's great.
That's
That is
awesome. Erin,
fantastic. Yeah.
what's your Etsy store called?
It is our Etsy store is Malivore_paints. That's where we kind of list. They're all painted armies ready to go. Crit's not included, but we think painted minis roll better, so we can put that
that
in there.
that they do. That they do.
Okay.
Where does the name Malibor come from?
That's a little demon that Clint has carried with him since, I don't know, the dawn of time. So the little guy that is our mascot was something that he drew over and over on a paper napkin. And then, you know, 25, 30 years later, he met a woman that could draw it. And then we started a company and we became Malibor Paints. So I don't know, it's a little demon up to no good. That's the way we describe him.
I
But he
love it.
means well.
I love
Yes.
it.
Which I think, Steph, you and your partner paint too, right?
Yeah, so my husband, Brendan, he has been painting since he was like 10 years old. So he's got, 30 years almost experience of painting miniatures. And um, he challenged me last year for Adepticon. We were doing the Gonk Droid racing and we wanted to do custom gonks. So he challenged me to paint my own gonk for that event. So that was the first mini I ever painted was last year around Christmas time. I painted a little gonk droid from Shatterpoint. Um, and after I painted that, I said I would never paint another model again. Um, and then we got home from Adepticon and I started picking up a paintbrush again. So that
Love.
that did not stick at all. um, but yeah, so I've only been painting for like a year now, and I think I've come a long way. He's talked me into doing Path of the Worthy for Marvel Crisis Protocol this year. So I've got my magic jumping out of limbo board that I'm going to be entering into that contest.
Oh, it's looking so good.
Yeah, I'm super proud of that. And yeah, so we go to these events as a husband and wife duo, and we try to do as many teams events as we can. We're doing Marvel Crisis Protocol teams at Adepticon this year, and we always try to go for themes. So we've got a display board that is like futuristic, broken city, very dark, with our X-Force squad. We've got Cable and Deadpool and Wolverine and bunch of different X-Men in there. So
Super cool. It's funny how you get painting. I remember when I was kind of hesitating because I've always been an artist, but painting has always been my least favorite because there's no room to mess up really, and that perfectionist comes in and I just can't enjoy it. And with mini painting, all you do is slot paint on until you learn like they immediately thin it down. It's not to annoy you, it's true, but like that struggle. And then I remember seeing an artist, I don't even remember who they were, but they've changed my vision on so many things. And it was funny because someone went, well, I want to start painting, but I don't know if I can. Like, there's so many painters out there. And she looked right in the camera and she goes, the world's giant. There's so much room that you can get a little piece of the pie. Never question if there's room. There's always room for more artists. And I went, huh, that's so true. Like, you grow up thinking there's only so much room for this and so much room for that, but the world is giant. And you hop on Twitch and you see a bunch of people painting for their 14 to 14,000 followers, and there's so much room for people to be artists. And I think once I got over that like imposter syndrome that's very common these days, I just kind of went, okay, well, there is room. And I kind of stepped in, and next thing you know, people couldn't tell the difference between what I did and what Clint did, and it kind of gave you that satisfaction of I do belong here. And when I don't and I have a bad paint day, I'm like, there's still room. People are messing up all over the world. I'll just be one of them today.
That is beautiful advice.
So credit to anonymous person on Twitch.
Feel free to come and claim that if that was you that said it.
I'll give credit where credit's due as soon as I remember, but I'm getting old and there's too many Backstreet Boys lyrics taking up space, so I can't remember them.
Girl, I hear that. My head is like 90% song lyrics.
Useless. Yep.
Unless you're on a road trip and then it helps pass the time.
Yes. For me, not the person next to me. Then it slows down.
Yeah. Oh, I know. My husband just ignores me. So, Erin, how do you balance your gaming interest with other aspects of your life?
So, gaming could obviously consume our lives. We always say that if we quit our jobs, we could get all of this stuff painted and we could free up our time. But I've learned over the years to kind of not put that pressure, because my husband and I, we run
Mm-hmm.
Disney races, we run half marathons, we ran a marathon last year, we, take on
Wow.
this and take on that. And like I learned with gaming that I like to set short time goals. So say I wanted to play at Crucible, which is going to be in, I believe, September, October timeframe here in Orlando. I say I'm going to practice
Mm-hmm.
really hard and play like that really, really good list for X amount of time. That way I don't burn out. But the rest of the time, I put Sabine in my list, and I hope I don't do too badly, because I hate losing. Kind of like you were saying, Steph, to where it's like I don't want to be ultra competitive, but I want to be competitive enough.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the game, if my opponent looks worried, that's a win to me. Because
I agree.
I almost put a blip in your chain, and then when they beat me, I'm like, don't waste the points I gave you. Like it's just kind of
Oh,
that competitiveness. Like I try not put that pressure on. I try not force ourselves to like paint every night and not have fun, just because you get burned out. But I kind of just, if I'm having a bad day and gaming's there for me, then it's great, because we have friends that we do board games with, and we'll do 2 days of straight board gaming, and it just makes me happy. And other days it's like I need a break, I need a crochet. So I'm learning to not put that pressure on, but still make it a big
Mm-hmm.
part of my life.
Yeah.
good. That's that having that balance is important.
Hmm.
I don't know if there's a point where actually yes, I remember coming home from the NOLA Open, which is the only major tournament I've been in, at least for Legion, and I didn't want to see a die. I didn't want to roll any dice for like a day or two, and that surprised me because I rarely don't want to play games, but that was a big deal. Like that whole weekend
Mm-hmm.
was huge.
Oh
So
yeah. I remember last year when we came home from Adepticon, because we just played Friday, Saturday, Sunday is always really busy for us. Like last year we did Friday was MCP teams, which was a 14-hour day. Then we played Star Wars Imperial Assault on Saturday for like 6 hours. And then Sunday was Legion teams, and that was another 8 or 9 hour day. And so by the time we got home on Monday, we were like, I don't want to look at any of this stuff right now. It's just so tiring sometimes after those big events.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean it doesn't stay down long. Like
Yeah.
No.
I know it, and if somebody had called me and been like, "Let's play some board games," I probably would have jumped all over that.
You would have grabbed your 400 dice and you're like, I am ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably right. Just the different dice, not the Legion dice.
But I
Yeah.
mean, and part of gaming like that is just that, and you've hit on the podcast before, like you walk in and you don't see yourself in that room being a woman gamer. And if you
Right.
do, you can spot them in a crowd. Like I spotted this one woman gamer in the entire like LVO. And
Hmm.
it was funny because I kept checking on her and seeing how she was doing. She always looked nervous around me. And then after I got home, I realized it's because I had a TO shirt on, because I was working the event. So she probably thought she was doing something wrong. And I made her
Oh,
even more nervous. And I realized, oh, yeah, that stupid yellow shirt probably didn't make me look very friendly. But it was like you can't help but look in and just see a bunch of either tryhards, or for me, I'm 5'2". I'm a very small person, so I always feel very small in a room. And it doesn't help when there's not a lot of other females or other girls or smaller people, and then they're all big, giant guys, and they could be the sweetest people in the entire world, but they're just not. It's not looking in a mirror. It's not seeing me in a room, which kind of takes you out of your element. You can't
right.
Mm-hmm.
say the same things. You can't joke around about, I have the high ground with every single opponent. Like it kind of takes that feminine part of gaming out of it for me, and I find that exhausting.
Right. Right.
But then when I'm
Yeah.
around like a bunch of like-minded that I can make the same jokes, and there's usually like two or three females in our gaming groups on the weekend, it's a different kind of feel.
Yeah.
rather than 400 guys that hopefully smell
I
good. It's not their fault.
Yeah.
They smell
Yeah.
differently.
Yeah. That is one thing I tend to do when I go to any kind of event, whether it's a big event like Adepticon or a smaller local event. I'm constantly looking around the room trying to see how many other women are there. And normally,
Mhm.
if it's a smaller event, I'm the only one. So it's a little daunting, but I try to hold my space and be one of the guys because
Right.
that's the easiest way to
But
get
it
through it.
but if there is another woman there, it's you got to buddy up, you know.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
That's so. But yeah, when I walked into Adepticon last year, it was just so many beards out there. I was like, wow, there's a lot of guys. Um, but I had a mission. I was on a mission, so I had my stickers, and I was looking for the girls, and I found a few. So
We're out there. I mean,
yeah,
looking at that stream that Endless was doing and seeing Lila on that table was just. I felt like it was that glass ceiling that we keep trying to break,
yeah, yeah.
and it was just huge. And just hearing the acceptance and just like there was so much great things that came out of that stream that I hope people paid attention to and kind of noticed. And it wasn't just two dudes fighting it out.
Mm-hmm.
It was a mixture. It was a minority at the table. It's even when you hear accents, like you're still like it's a minority. It's different. It's something that is kind of breaking that
Mm.
two white dudes battling at the head table kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah, nothing against white dudes or anything, but
Right, right. Absolutely. So you did help out at LVO this year. You got anything else that happened that was notable?
I actually was in charge of running the scrambles, which was a very like, okay. So LJ put me in charge because he's like, well, you seem reliable, so I'm gonna put you in charge, and you get to run the tables, and you get to boss the guys around because of course there were no guys in the championship the next day, and they're like, you run it. They piss you off, you tell me, and if they piss you off enough, they get kicked out. Like it was like that little bit of like, you're in control, you make it run, which was really cool because it gave me a new respect for those that run the big tournaments and even the small tournaments. So it was kind of cool to see that. And then I helped with whatever they needed. LJ, Josh, and Emily, they ran an incredible tournament over a few days, and they were sick during it. It was horrible. I think LJ had the flu. He was hurting, and he still put on an amazing tournament. We handed out free dice. We handed out free cards. It's just one of those really cool events that I'm glad I got to help out with because every player, every time you handed them a little gray dice, they were so excited.
That's
Whether they're
fantastic.
winning or losing, it was pretty cool. So I love working behind the scenes, like I said, or helping out a team in need.
Yeah.
LVO is definitely one of those events that I want to get to one of these years.
It was worth it. We did paint classes, and I know we
Hmm.
talked about this in the hobby chat, but just I mean, you see Marco and Francesco, and then like Squidmark was at the same table as us, just painting, and it felt like our stream was on, except we got to interact with them. It was such a cool event, and it doesn't seem like it's as competitive to get into those painting events as Adepticon. So
Hmm.
if you're looking at kind of signing up for stuff that filled up quickly at Adepticon, you might be able to get it at LVO.
Okay.
Something to think about.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So, Erin, are you doing any events at Adepticon, or are you strictly helping out with the stream?
We're just helping out. It was a last minute thing. It was David of Wintermoon Gaming. He kind of said, "I have this extra ticket. Who do you think I could give it to?" And we're like, I kind of looked at him and I was like, "Okay." And I was like, "I just need one person." He was like, "If I got two, would you guys go?" And we're like, "Sure." We're dinks. We're double income, no kids, big cats. We have no responsibilities. So we just jumped at the opportunity. So we're gonna do some of the paint and take, some of the free events, and
Okay.
check out the vendor floor. And I'm really, really looking forward to the hobby hang that you're gonna do and
Yep.
actually get to meet you. I hope Cami, you get to go. That'd be incredible.
That would be.
Mm-hmm.
Are you doing any event stuff?
Oh yeah, we have a full weekend with not a lot of extra time to spare. We are doing, Wednesday night we're doing Marvel trivia with our friends Andrew and Gina and Peter and Dustin that we met 2 years ago, and we've been meeting up with the same group every year now to do Marvel trivia together. Thursday we're doing the new Adepticon 500, and then I've got the hobby hang going on while my husband goes and does. He plays in the Middle Earth battle strategies game. Friday we've got Marvel Crisis Protocol teams all day. Saturday I'm doing a bunch of hobby classes. I've got the class with Zambies Saturday morning, and then me and my stepdaughter
Sounds
are
awesome.
Yeah, I'm so excited for that one. And then Saturday afternoon, me and my stepdaughter are doing one of these splash of color paint and take classes. And then Sunday, while my husband and my two stepkids play their games, I'm going to be walking around promoting, handing out buttons, friendship bracelets, and taking pictures and videos and just trying to enjoy the day. So it's going to be
Super cool.
busy.
The opposite of me. I'm going to help with setup, take photos, wander, and hopefully find stuff to do. Like I say that now, we'll probably be busy with the stream and everything. I get to play social media team and take photos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Bring out my professional camera and see if I remember how to use it. I just love being in those events. Like it's really cool to be around all your people.
Yeah.
So, or as my friend's
sure.
son puts it, all of his meeples. My least favorite word in gaming, meeples.
least favorite word?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know why. I find it disturbing.
No, I get it. I get it. Are you listening, Austin? Hey, at the game store I work at, we're all meeples.
Oh goodness.
But I declared myself a henchwoman tonight.
Oh.
I am not I'm not a meeple. So you mentioned Crucible. Do you work there, or do you play there, or do you do any other conventions?
Crucible, we actually did our very first table for Malibor Paints. We did a Galaxy's Edge themed table where
Yes, it was beautiful.
Thank you. We were very proud of it. It was the very first table we kind of did from scratch. And of course, we live near Orlando, so we went to Galaxy's Edge, took pictures. I even photographed the trash cans to duplicate them. We had maps all over the place. So that was one of the main streaming tables. So our goal is to do that again. And it's run by Jordan, who I want to kind of give a shout out, because if it wasn't for Jordan, I wouldn't have known about the War Dolls. Because as soon as Jordan said, hey, instead of being part of Florida Man or Bearded was my other group, he was like, I have an idea. And then, I made contact with Cammie, and then Cammie stalked me until I finally showed up to Thursday night. In a very good way of stalking me and making sure that I came and hung out.
I am persistent. Yes. If I am anything.
Yeah. And that's one of those, again, I run into so many great guys in the gaming that really support where I am, and like they always invite me out, and they're like, "You're a Florida man," and I'm like, "Yeah, I know." So I was glad that he hooked me up with the War Dolls and Cammie was persistent, and
Jordan has been very supportive of our mission.
He's one of those great beacons in our community, and he's in charge of Crucible. So if he says jump, I'll jump. I know we want to enter another table and hopefully play a little bit, and it's right in our neighborhood, so we might as well.
I was going to Crucible a year or two ago. I was ready to go, and I had my tickets and everything, and I fell. And since I was going by myself, we didn't think it was a good idea that I went that year. So I haven't been yet, but I do plan on going maybe this year. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But yeah, Jordan's been really great. He's been very supportive, and I would like to get down there and support him.
Yeah, me and my husband were very close to going to the Crucible I think it was not this past fall, but the year before. So it would have been fall of 23. We were very close to going. And at the last minute, when we were about ready to book our stuff, we were like, maybe we shouldn't spend the money and miss out on marching band season finals weekend. And so we didn't end up making it. But that is another one I'd love to get to.
Yeah, it's a great space, and it's by all the theme parks. So I know there's a lot of like getting together before and after, and if you want to get into painting and anything like that, they have different local stores that do paint and takes, and it's kind of the if you're afraid of going to a big convention, it's a really good one because it's kind of in between. And again, Jordan puts on a great event, and he does all the fun things. I remember I spoke to Jordan about playing down south, and he's like, well, I can put together something. And I was like, but it's always so competitive. So then he made the least competitive type of tournament just to make it comfortable for me to come down and play and not have to keep playing against the tryhards, even though they were there. But he took the regular way of doing things and made it impossible for them to put together a really good list just so I could enjoy and play against the same people. So I ended up playing against Austin Miller, and we ended up tying. And I'm like, even though it was kind of a joke tournament, I still put that on my resume as I tied like a world champ. And it's all because, they kind of heard me and took advantage of not doing that super competitive. And Jordan kind of does events like that at Crucible as well. So it's kind of neat. It's a little different.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Okay, so we've got some rapid fire questions for you. We'll try not to make them too hard. The first one, LVO or Adepticon?
LVO.
Painting or playing?
Painting.
Dogs or cats?
Cats.
What's your favorite model that you've painted?
I don't know. The last one that I painted.
Good answer.
GW or Army Painter?
Army Painter.
Plastic or pewter?
I'm going to play the young card and go plastic because I never worked with pewter.
Sand or the high ground?
High ground. Always the high ground.
Spring or fall?
I live in Florida, so summer. Fall.
Super or plastic glue?
Both dangerous, but super.
Good answer. And Baby Grogu or Baby Groot?
Baby Groot. Dance.
Well, Erin, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. I had a lot of fun. I appreciate you guys having me on, and getting to know you two a little bit better was a lot of fun. So.
Well, do you have any questions for us? Since we're here.
Well, since you're here, if you could go back and talk to younger you and get you into gaming sooner, or get you into painting, or something that you do now that you were afraid of before, and could give yourself advice, what would it be?
That is an excellent question.
Not rapid fire, but you said
no, I have to think about that because
I know.
What if any advice I wish I had other than don't start with the enamel paints. Don't leave your models in the sun. That would have been a good one.
That's good advice.
It was when I was in college. I was going to game after class and just threw my models in the back seat of my car. And of course, down here we're closer to the sun than the rest of the world. And all my bases curled up.
Oh.
And I had all those Beaky Marines, the soft plastic Beaky Marines. And while they didn't melt, they got softer. And the bases made all their legs bend. So I was able to save some of them. But yeah, it was pretty rough. I probably wouldn't have listened, but don't use plastic glue. There's no need for that kind of permanence. I mean, had I not used plastic glue, those bases might have just snapped off.
Fair.
And I've dropped models, and they just shatter rather than break apart like plastic glue. So, but yeah, that's my advice. Steph?
My advice would be to always bring super glue with you everywhere, because you never know when you're going to have to go on a scavenger hunt an hour before an event to find super glue to glue your gonk droid onto a base.
Oh no.
So last year at Adepticon, we were doing the gonk droid racing. We wanted to do custom gonks, but there really wasn't enough information out there for people to know that, I mean, we're gamers. We should probably have known, I'll take this one. It needed to be on a base. But we didn't know anything about the game to know what it was or what we were doing. So we go up to the table for the event coordinator and we're like, hey, we have our gonks. Like, what size base do we need? Because we didn't have any information. And they're like, oh, it's just the regular Shatterpoint bases. Okay, great. Our first scavenger hunt was to find Shatterpoint bases. We ended up having
that model doesn't come with one.
Right. So, and because we did custom gonks, so we bought our gonks off of Etsy because we didn't want to buy a whole set of Shatterpoint just for one gonk droid. So we went and we had to buy one small box of Shatterpoint just so we could get some bases. Then we're like, oh crap, we left our super glue in the hotel, which we were not at the Renaissance, we were at the Hyatt. So we were like, well, we don't want to drive back to the hotel just to get super glue. So we're like frantically asking all of our friends, do you have super glue? we end up going up to Dallas and asking him to borrow his super glue, and he kindly let us borrow his super glue to put our gonk droids on our bases.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And then we went to the open paint area and threw some paint on them, and we spent 2 hours just prepping for the gonk droid race. So always have glue on you.
Perfect. Sounds like we need to slap some War Doll stickers on some super glue.
Yeah, I know.
There it is. Yeah. maybe find a branding deal somewhere.
There we go. That'd be cool.
So I do have one other thing I would like to throw in as advice to younger me. Drink water at events.
Yes.
That's a good one.
That I've found that out too late in life to be to not be embarrassed about it. So drink water at events. You will feel so much better afterwards.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
How do I segue this? Thank you so much for listening. The War Dolls is a community of geeky girls and NBs that are here to support and inspire one another. We can be found online at a very aged website, thewardolls.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Discord as The War Dolls, all one word. Look for us anywhere. All of these links can be found in our Instagram at The War Dolls.
And if you're interested in checking out the community, you can join us over on Discord, where we chat and hang out every Thursday night during our hobby hang, and that happens at 7 o'clock Eastern Time.
As always, if you have any questions for our guests or topics that you would like for us to discuss, you can message us on Facebook, Instagram, or email us at thewardolls@gmail.com.
Until next time, support each other and be kind.
You're hyping me up too much.